Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back on the Mike, the Premier Business Radio program. I'm your host, Mike King. Appreciate you being here with us. Alrighty, so this is part of the Mike King Biz Radio Network, which is ESPN Richmond 106.1 every day, 5 to 7 a.m. The Choice 105.3 every day from 2 to 3, as well as International Business Court Radio. What we do is we take, like LeBron, and we took our talents on the road. So what I do is I'm on radio almost 20 hours per week. I know radio. What I don't know is the podcast world. So what do? I go get the queen of podcasts who are out there, and when you see what people are doing, it makes a difference. So you're saying there's brands that work. Oh, you know what? I forgot. This is something for us.
Hey, yo, Richmond, it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit, but keep moving forward. This is the Italian stallion. Say the one and leave Philly and come to RVA. I always check out my man, Mike King Biz, on ESPN, 5-7 a.m. The champ of business talk radio. The man.
Well, yeah, okay. Sonja, welcome to the program. Shout out to our hometown of Philadelphia.
Yes.
Alrighty, so it's a business show, so tell folks who you are and what you do.
My name is Sonja Keeve, and I am the CEO and founder of Sisters with the Voice Podcast Network, where I have the esteemed pleasure to help women entrepreneurs get unstuck from thinking about starting a podcast to building, launching, and monetizing in just 30 days.
In 30 days.
30 days.
This is a boot camp to get people cracking.
Yes.
Alrighty, so how did you get to the point of knowing the podcast world that you're able to teach it to somebody in a 30-day period?
Well, it's a funny story. I was in a social media challenge on Facebook where they were working with aspiring entrepreneurs at the time to come up with a business or product or service. But the caveat was you had to be able to implement it right away. So at the time, I was on Facebook kind of just sharing inspirational posts. And every time I ended my quote, it would say #walk in love. But my initial dream was I was going to be this motivational speaker, like the next Lisa Nichols or the next Oprah. And I was going to go around the world until my coach said, what are you going to inspire them about? And I said, well, I'm just going to get on stage and do my thing. And she was like, no, that's not how this works. And so I had to kind of go back and figure out how could I have impact and transform women's lives. And so in this social media challenge, somebody told me about podcasting. Now I knew a little bit about it. And I knew two things. I knew I loved to talk, and I knew I loved helping women. And so I came up with Inspiring Nations with Sonja Keeve. And really, it came from God really speaking into my heart, because I had just finished becoming a first-time published author in a book called Inspiring Women. And so in that book, I shared my story of a corporate layoff. Yes, I was working for a financial institution, which I will not name. And so in that idea of starting a podcast, I said, well, you know what? I need guests. So I said, well, if I start a podcast, would you be my guest? I just put it out there on social media, and 50 women said yes.
And you knew you had something.
I knew I had something.
All right, so let's go back when you get the layoff. Not a very good time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But had you seen that coming and you were starting to think that there may be something else that I want to do?
Well, it's funny, when I was working in corporate America, my dream was to become the next African-American senior VP. That was kind of the goal, the dream.
Okay.
And when that was taken, I had lost my identity, because for me at that point, everything was tied into that job.
A lot of times it is.
Yeah. And so I knew that God had created me for something more. I was like, this can't be the end of my story. This cannot be how this ends. And so God had really positioned me through a 40-day fast to really talk to me about walking in love. And the best way to be a blessing, even in the midst of your own pain, is to bless someone else's life. So he gave me walk in love out of Ephesians 5:2. And he said, if you start performing a simple act of kindness, the blessing is going to come forward. And it did. And it has blessed my life so much more. And that's how Inspiring Nations was birthed.
When did you know you had something?
I definitely knew I had something when those 50.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, when those 50 women said yes, and I hadn't even created the platform, I said, there's something here. I need to pursue this thing a little bit further.
One of the things that you also talked about is women of a certain age.
Yeah.
Are you saying sometimes it's like the end is in it? It's okay. Let's talk about your idea there and what you help women with.
And so I started my entrepreneurial journey in my late 40s. And so at that time, for so many women that I talked to and I interviewed around the world, all had that similar story, that they thought their dream was going to be this one thing, but now they're much older and they're like wondering, because society's telling you you're no good, we can't use you, you're too old. But women were like me saying, there's something more that I need to create. And so I saw a niche where I could help women see their possibilities and their potential, and that you're never too old to begin again. For many of us, this became the thing that was going to catapult our lives and have more impact.
One of Mike, Sonja, keeve here with us, talking all things women podcasting. So 30 days,
Yep.
you get people up and running 30 days. You talk to a lot of people,
Yeah.
a lot of business people. What's the mood of the business climate out there now?
Well, ironically, a lot of people now are really searching for something more, because I have met so many women who have been in corporate America 20, 30, 40 years, and then all of a sudden they got the pink slip. And so now they're realizing, I need to have something that I can control. There's something I can do. And so I'm showing these women that you've got this expertise. Take everything you've learned in corporate America, all your experiences, and now create a platform where you have the power not only to control the messaging, but control the medium in which you're going to get that out.
Alrighty, so and people come with all types of content.
Oh,
to
yes.
you, the content doesn't matter.
Right.
The format is to say you're
Yes.
just here to help them. What are some of the hot areas that you're seeing that people have shown an interest in, want to work in?
Definitely in the space of wellness, mental health is huge, especially for our veterans. Also, spirituality and inspirational is really, and believe it or not, true crime.
True crime.
Yeah.
I don't know. My wife does watch all of those. Sometimes I wonder. We wonder and wake up in the middle of the night.
Sleep when I open.
Exactly.
Sleep when I open.
Baby, I'm waking up in the middle of the night, and I'm, why are you looking at me? You know you can't get away with it. You watch them every time. There's no insurance money because they start looking. So true crime is one.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That is interesting. All righty. So when you first started the podcast, what was something that, all right, so a person is out there.
Yeah.
And what are certain things that they can do to ensure that they have a better podcast? And is a better podcast always one to make money? Or what makes a great podcast?
What makes a great podcast is when you absolutely know who you're targeting to, who is your audience. Most people think when they get into podcasting, yes, you're going to tap into multitude of people, but you have an undivided attention of an audience that needs what you have. So you have to take your expertise and connect it to either solving someone's problem or helping them to pursue a passion.
So it's not a podcast variety show.
No,
this is it's not that.
It's very specific to what is it that you want to inform, inspire, or educate your audience on, and you want to be able to help them to take the next step in whatever their problem is that they're trying to solve in their life.
One of Mike, Sonja, keeve here, talking all things podcasting. How can people find you out there?
So you can find me on all social media channels on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Sonja Keeve, and that's Sonja.
J.A. All righty. All right. On the mic of Mike, we talk to the best and the brightest. So you start people at any time, or do you have certain times that you start up with folks?
We have a program every 6 weeks.
Okay.
And so when someone is ready to start a podcast, the first thing I always like to do is I just like to have a conversation with them first, because you can't get into the space unless your mindset is in the right place. Because many people can start a podcast, but they get burnt out because they don't really understand the tools and the resources and things that you need to have even before you start a podcast. And that's why, for me, I've had the longevity in this business, because I started with the right mindset.
On the mic and Mike, we bring you the best and the brightest. This is part of the Mike King Radio Network, ESPN Richmond 106.1, The Choice 105.3, every day from 2 to 3, as well as International Business Growth Radio. That's where we got to have you on when we talk about International Business Growth Radio,
Yes.
because what we do is we get the best and the brightest from around the globe, entrepreneurs talking about what the business is, what the business ecosystem is in where they are located. So you guys were in Richmond. Shout out to Philly. We're both from Philly.
Yes,
And now you moved up to Fredericksburg.
yes.
Let's talk about the business community in Fredericksburg. You guys say it's booming.
It is absolutely booming. Why? Because Fredericksburg has become this hidden gem because we sit right in the middle between Richmond and DC. And so so we get the folks from up north and the folks coming up south. And so we are right smack in the middle. So where everyone is growing and everyone is seeing there is a need for women owners to have their business and to have an impact.
All right, Sonja's here with us. One last time, how can people find you?
So you can go to my website at sonjakeeve.com for more information on podcasting. And also, I just want to just drop real quick. I'm hosting my first inaugural event called Podcasters Rock 2022.
All righty.
And it's going to be on November 18th and 19th at the Hampton Inn and Suites Hotel in Fredericksburg, Virginia. So that's right off of exit 126 for those that are coming.
What day of the week is that?
It's Friday and Saturday. So Friday, the 18th from 5 to 9 p.m. and all day Saturday, the 19th from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
So you got to come back and give us some more information on that. Okay, and that's called
Podcasters Rock 2022 for women in business.
Okay, so wait a second. So the podcast that I'm not a real big podcaster. So just a general, hey, that's not really good for podcasting. I need to, as you say, fulfill a need or teach somebody something.
Yes.
Not just I'm out here just
the
ramblings of Mike.
Right, because if you start rambling, people are going to turn you off.
Not like the old Paul Harvey.
Right.
Good day. Okay. I have to be focused. You teach people how to be focused.
Focus, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And your program lasts for how long?
What, the podcast show?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we Inspiring Nations is on every Wednesday at 7 p.m. And then, of course, I launched my second podcast show, Begin Again, which you can actually hear every Tuesday on Hindsight Media Radio 103.5 FM.
There you go. We'd like to thank you for coming on the program on the mic of Mike. We get the best and right. Shout out to my man, Andrew Heights. Yo, I'm going to see you for RVA Fashion Week. Carter, and lobby with Carter. Yo, man, appreciate you coming on the show. We got to run. You guys take care. Thanks now.